relax. No matter whether you have an existing site, want to transfer your site, or need to start a WordPress site from scratch, we have a plan to suit your needs. So say bye-bye to WordPress problems and relax with WP Relax.
Hi everyone, this is Ahmed Karimli and welcome to Be Efficient TV. The mission of this web TV show is to boost the efficiency of your business and life with tips and tricks from leading experts. And today I have with me Moustafa Hamwi. He is a passionpreneur, author and public speaker. People call him the passion guy, Mr. Passion. Welcome to the show.
Hello Ahmed, thank you very much for this amazing show and for the message you're spreading to the world.
My pleasure. So who is Moustafa Hamwi? What is your background?
Moustafa is originally born in Syria, grew up in Saudi and graduated uni from Egypt and then came to Dubai. I started my career in PR. I used to handle the PR for Nokia in the Middle East. That was at the years when Nokia was 7 out of 10 phones on the table. And through that, I got a lot of access into events and parties that Nokia were sponsoring. Eventually, I opened up my own event agency. At the back of that, opened up a modeling agency. My partners ended up opening several nightclubs and entertainment event ventures. So you can imagine how my lifestyle was. And I ended up getting fed up with my lifestyle after a while. It got too much to handle and left everything and bought a one-way ticket to India. And on my journey in India, a couple of things happened that pretty much transformed my life. One of them was meeting a Swami or a guru that's been in the caves for 13 years. And on one of my interactions with him, I'd be walking up to him with a lot of questions about life and things. And one time he has one of those very long beards. So he'd be playing with his beard and he goes, "Do you know what you are thirsty for? Because if you do not know what you are thirsty for, you cannot quench your thirst." And that was pretty much a strong, deep question that when he asked me, I started realizing that I actually had no clue what I wanted out of life. I mean, yes, I was going around in life, running around. I was having outer success, but not much inner fulfillment. And that triggered me to feel, the need to find an answer. I continued with my journey in India. And then through a coincidence, walking to a hospital, random checkup, I discovered I had a medical situation which the doctors told me were non-curable. Luckily, I was blessed and it got cured in India naturally after a month. So that was gone. But that incident made me ask myself, what if this was a serious thing that never healed, or if it was a cancer, or I didn't discover it today and it became a cancer later? Have I felt proud about my life? And that his question rang in my head again. And I started asking myself 3 key questions. One of them was I living a life that was truly meaningful to me? Was I doing the best I can with all I have? Because a lot of times you think you're doing your best, but you're not really doing your best. You're just enjoying what's coming at you, but you're not going out there fully. And the third thing was, did I leave any positive impact on this world beyond my own joy and my own fun? And the answer was no to all of these questions.
What was your illness about?
It was a benign prostate enlargement. So that's basically what is medically defined as a non-curable disease. And it is non-cancerous, it's not life-threatening. It's just an enlargement of the organ, which is abnormal. And depending on the size of it, they determine how serious it is. On a long run, it's dangerous if left untreated, which is in principle untreated by medical community, because it most of the time converts into cancer.
So do you think because of the trip to India, like internally you felt better and that helped in curing it, or?
I mean, basically, if you're asking on the healing side of my journey, it was multiple things. At the foremost level, my learning was it is all mental and emotional. So all diseases, I mean, you think of it this way. A disease comes from 2 syllables, which is disease, D-I-S-E-S. And if you split the word, that's dis-ease. So it's an organ that is at dis-ease with itself. Even cancer, by the way, cancer is a disease. So you don't have a virus. You don't hear somebody saying, I caught cancer. The language description is I developed cancer, or he or she developed cancer. So you develop something internally within you. So when the thoughts in your mind are negative, and they're consistently poking, I mean, imagine if somebody's just doing this to you. If you do that for a few years, something's bound to break. And this is what it was. It was a lot of negativity that was going on in my head about certain thought patterns that ended up manifesting in an organ. And all I had to do is basically for about a month, I mean, I supplemented it with healthy eating. So I went raw vegan. I was doing a lot of juicing. I was eating a lot of certain foods that would help the healing of that organ. I did a lot of herbal medicine. I mean, India, I was in the best place for that. I was at a lot of Ayurveda. But all of that was supporting the healing. I did energy healing, crystal healing, you name it, any form of healing.
So now with meditation, you help people get rid of their negativity and transform it into positivity to heal themselves or feel better at least.
I mean, I did not choose to take the path of teaching meditation now. As I said, I do meditations myself. I invite people over for meditations, but I did not feel at the beginning now that my calling is to teach meditation. I'm an avid meditator. I meditate every single morning. I preach to people to meditate. I recommend that people meditate. But with my healing, it was heavily the meditation that helped. I just don't claim to be an expert in healing people through meditation or through that. I did not feel this is my calling. It's not because I healed that was my calling to do it. The incident, as I said, was a trigger for me to think about my situation in my life. And the tools that I used were mainly meditation, and it was a lot of journaling, a lot of meditation. I did crazy, I mean, I did silent, I did crying meditation, I did laughter meditation, I did a lot of things that you've never heard of kind of meditations, eye gazing, writing, sound meditations. But it was all releasing all these negative thought patterns for a month. And I'm talking about 16 hours a day dedicated to either the meditation or the healing or the research about the healing journey.
And this negativity came through your job, like you were employed in Nokia and not happy, or then later on when you started the business and then you started into PR and those, nightclub, loud life? And
it was a mix of things. I mean, basically, I used to work for the PR agency that handled Nokia. That period of my life, it was, you were young, you're not thinking, you're just having fun, you're enjoying your life. When I became an entrepreneur, the pressure became up the roof. You're talking about, you know how it is, and an entrepreneurial journey, it's ups and downs and successes and wins and loses, and people, there's more losers than wins in entrepreneurial journey, what people don't understand. And that was a lot of pressure. And at that time, I had gone from 4 people to 45 people, around $10 to $15 million turnover a year in 4 years. If somebody who's under 30, that is like skyrocket growth. And then on top of that, you add the nightlife side of things, whether it was business, whether it was fun because of my partner's businesses. So I was work hard, play hard, but to the extreme. I mean, when I'm working hard, I'm working hard. And evenings, I was burning the candles at both ends. So I'd finish up, go sleep a few hours and come back. All of that took a toll on me. Number 2 is the fact that I felt a bit of emptiness inside me, because everything I was having was the tick the box for the lifestyle. I mean, if I'm on a yacht, I'm on a yacht. Whether I owned it or not is irrelevant. I'm having the lifestyle experience. What was missing for me is something deeper, because when I was in these situations, I would look inside me and go, why am I not feeling so fulfilled? And it's the fulfillment that was missing. And this is something I teach a lot in my passion work. Happiness, the pursuit of happiness, is making you sad. Because with every happy moment, there's bound to be a downer. You eat a chocolate.
Do you think happiness is an event and fulfillment is deeper? And
yes, 100%. Happiness is momentarily, and you know what? Somebody tells me I'm not happy. My question is, who's stopping you? I mean, you can feel sad about anything you choose to. You can feel happy about anything you choose to. On the journey of fulfillment, there will be happy moments and there will be sad moments. And the pursuit of happiness is making people sad. Everybody wants to be happy all the time. The reality is,
this is an important point. Fulfillment can have sad events, like visiting someone sick. That gives you fulfillment, but it's a sad event. But it gives you fulfillment. That's very important for people to understand.
Of course. I mean, look, people have been, I don't know, I think The Secret messed up people's minds, with all due honesty. It's like, you think I'll be happy all the time. Anything I think about will manifest. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Reality is you get out on the road, somebody hits your car, you cannot be happy. And if you pretend to be happy, you're delusional. And these are the people that end up more depressed because they're trying to be happy about things that they shouldn't be happy about. And they end up twice as depressed because things don't change. If you're happy about somebody hitting your car, it's not going to change. What you should have is the right mindset to deal with the situation in the right way. If somebody's attacking you with a knife, you cannot say, oh, I'll be happy, everything is going to be good. No, it's not going to be good. You better put that fighting manner in you and go and fight the fight when you need to fight it. And that's a fulfilling journey. And along the way, there'll be ups, there'll be downs. In result, you're not affected by the ups nor the downs. So you get happy with a happy moment. You're an entrepreneur yourself. You win a deal, you lose a deal, you're going. You know, the deal doesn't define you. The deal that you lose doesn't define you, and the deal that win doesn't define you. It's the actual entrepreneurial journey that makes you who you are.
All right. How do you define fulfillment? Is it like several stuff like health, wealth? How do you define it?
Beautiful. So let me break it down for you. Again, I'm all about linguistics. Okay, I studied neurolinguistics, and I feel words. When we say words, we communicate what's going in our head. So I like to dig deeper to a word that's being said. So fulfillment. Again, break it to syllables. That's fulfill. So take the fulfillment. So fulfill. Flip the word, it becomes fill full. The two syllables is to fill full that which you perceive empty inside you. So the fulfillment comes from you filling full that calling that's deep inside of you. And that is a natural calling within you. I say that's 1 in 500 million. I mean,
So it's only the growth calling, or it's several divisions of your life, like financial, spiritual?
Beautiful. That's a different angle, though. I'll tap into the different sides that you're mentioning. But at the first, you got to understand is that fulfillment is even much bigger than these sides. So fulfillment comes from you filling full your calling. And your calling is something that you were born with, 1 in 500 million other possibilities that could have manifested as you. Why you particularly ended up happening on this planet. There's a calling inside you. When you know that calling, on the journey of fulfilling that purpose, you need to tackle what I call, the wheel of life, or the 7 or 8 areas of life, which will include your spirituality, which will include your career, which will include your financials, which will include your health, include your relationships, will include your family, will include your social, will include your recreation and entertainment. Now, all of these are part of the journey of fulfillment. So you're not going to be able to fulfill your mission. Yeah, you're not going to be able to fulfill your mission until you are healthy. You're not going to be able to fulfill your mission if you're broke. You're not going to be able to fulfill your mission if you have a bad social situation. You're not going to be able to fulfill your mission if you have no clear career path. So they support the framework of the fulfillment. But the fulfillment, by you fulfilling your mission
or calling. So the main thing is the mission and calling.
Yes.
How people can find their mission and calling.
So here's the thing. I have multiple things that I help people with, but one of my most famous ways of helping people to find their calling are 2 questions. Okay. First question, I call it the $1 billion question. So I'd say, okay, go, all the viewers that are watching the show now, go pull out your checkbook, write your name on a check, and write $1 billion. And that's 1 zeros. And write it, sign the check, tear it out, look at it. You've got a check in your hand for $1 billion. And why I say $1 billion? Because now you have no financial worries. All your family's taken care of, all the loved ones are taken care of, everybody and everything you want to ever do in life can be done. There's no limitation. $1 billion can do anything you want in this world. We can take it to space. You fold that check, you put it in your pocket, and now you tell me, what do you want to do in life? Money is no longer a trap. Because the problem is people are caught up in the money rat race. And there's never enough money. How much money is enough? I work with a lot of people that have millions and billions when I'm coaching them. And you know what? They're as worried about money as the person who's broke. I promise you. And actually, the more money they've got, the more worried they are, because their worries are bigger than somebody who doesn't have money. Because now, if they lose
how to keep the money, how to protect the money.
Millions. If they lose $1 million, it hurts a lot more than losing 100 or 1,000. So when you take the money out of the equation, you get clarity on, oh, and I get, you know what's funny? I get people who says, you know what, I actually want to open a restaurant on the beach with a hut and I just want to live on the beach. And you're like, okay, go do it. And once you take money out of the equation, that's the first question. Now, some people go, oh, I don't have an answer, I don't know. Then my next question, and I like to balance positive, negative, yin and yang. So this is an aspiring question that makes you have a big smile on your face. The second question is, can you guarantee you're going to live another year?
No one can guarantee that.
1 month?
No one can
1 week?
guarantee, yeah.
1 minute?
No one can guarantee that. Only God.
With that realization that you cannot guarantee living another minute, if today, now, this moment was the last moment of your life, what would you regret not doing? Because it's these things that you regretted not doing. Because the things you regret doing, time is a healer. But what you regret not doing, you cannot turn back time. And that's another sign of something that you really, truly want to do. Now, it's not necessarily that the first answer would be truly your passion, but if you keep answering these two questions regularly, they will dig deeper in you. I basically, I mean, obviously this is the scratching the surface. I do a full program called the Passion Journey where I help people dig really deep into everything, and I've distilled knowledge into that.
But the calling has to be about helping other people, or that not necessarily can be about myself, that I want to do this for myself?
I love your questions, man. So, well, here's the thing. A calling will rarely ever be about you. Rarely ever, because you've been created into this world with a lot of value, and you have not only been created into this world just for your own pleasures, because this is the side. What do you mean for me? I mean, there's only so much you can consume to make you happy, and then you're going to feel fed up. And then you're going to start feeling empty, because after that point, when you're full with whatever you want for you, there's a point where you're going to need to give to others. Now, I don't want to get too metaphysical here, because also there's only by you giving others you fulfill yourself and you feel bigger. But not to complicate the discussion now and keep it in practical terms, usually purpose is about the world and about others. And the best way I can give you an example is look at a tree. Yeah, a tree by its own virtue is a tree. I mean, a tree doesn't get born to give you shade. It just is born by a tree, but by its own virtue, it gives you shade, it gives you fruits, and you can eat the fruits, and then so by its own existence, it's giving out. And by its fulfilling its role, it becomes fulfilled as a tree, because even if you don't pick the fruit off the tree, sooner or later that fruit is going to fall. The fruit will die and fall. So if you don't serve your purpose, you will actually rot. Because you have not been eaten and you have not been used as a seed, the fruit will die. And every one of us is a kind of a fruit that came out of a tree. If we don't serve our purpose, we will wither and die.
Same with the entrepreneurs entrepreneurs who die with the entrepreneurial ideas.
And I have a funny story for you about entrepreneurship. So here's the thing. When I was on my journey to India, it was 2012, so there were no selfie cameras, no selfie sticks. The iPhone did not even have a selfie camera on it. It had it was actually those years, 2012, 2011, 2012, they still didn't have it. I used to catch the phone in the upside direction, and I used to take pictures of myself. And I was in the Himalayas, beautiful views, nobody to talk to, and my phone was an old phone, so I would measure away and figure out to get a good angle, and I got good at it. And then I was telling my brother, you should invent something to actually, take pictures. And then, oh God, man, you got to call Apple. Apple not going to respond to you to put a camera on the front. And then I thought, you know what, we can actually turn it around, and maybe I'll buy a cheap LCD screen that you can stick on the other side and get a stick. And I literally explored it, and then I let it be. And then the selfie stick comes out. And until today, every time my brother sees a selfie stick, he looks at me and he goes, you idiot, you could have been the inventor of the selfie stick. And that's a lot of us out there.
You didn't take action on it.
You don't take action. And everybody tells me, I'm the first who thought about it. And guess what? You're not the only one with brains in this world. There's
what matters who takes action on it.
7 billion people in this world have brains, and all of them have ideas. Most of the ideas come to you in the toilet or in the shower. But when you walk out of there, if you don't take action, it went down the drain with whatever you flushed out there. It means nothing. It's only action that will make the idea come true.
Back to business. What was basically your business?
Originally, because I started in PR, my agency, when I opened it, was an event agency. And then at the back of that, we started doing kind of activation. So we're doing promotions. We had a modeling agency and a promoter agency. And then we were expanding into talent management. So we were managing artists, singers. We did open a branding agency. So I'm talking about 45 employees here. We opened a branding agency. That was my core business. We were also owned shares in an agency that was organizing nightlife events. So that agency was promoting different nightlife events in clubs, and then we were owning in that company that was doing also concerts. And that was my core business. And the bigger group had investments in nightclubs, in restaurants, in lounges, plus several other businesses.
Then it's failed, or you sold it, or?
So basically, by 2009, the business was not doing very well because the crisis had come and we were owed a lot of money in the market. We were overstretched, but we were still surviving. But basically, once that shift happened inside me, and during the crisis, I never found it in me anymore to fight. And this is what I said about, you remember the discussion about, are you doing the best you can with everything you have? If I look back, back then I thought I'm doing my best. But if I'm honest with myself and I reflect back, I'd say past 2009, I was not fighting for it anymore. I was doing strongly, but I didn't have that like I'm gonna go and do whatever.
And then you went back to employment before deciding to focus on passion?
2010, I basically just shut down the agency. We dissolved it. There was a breakup in the group, so the two main partners broke up, and then eventually it was just things started falling apart, and then we shut down the business. It's an event agency, so you don't own assets. You're a service business. So as long as you're operating, you have a business. When you stop, there's nothing to sell. You don't have any.
How much that business helped you with the current public speaking career as experience?
Well, beautiful angle. I'll tackle that for you when I answer your first question, which is I did consulting in 2011 for Abu Dhabi government. I was the event consultant for Abu Dhabi Science Festival. So that, again, that was still in the events industry, and I wasn't fully employed. It just gave me a bit of freedom. So that was the early stage pre-India. After I came back from India and I needed to pay the bills because I've been, out of work for a while and I've exhausted all my savings, I still did consulting in the events industry. And that was probably full-time consulting in 2013, and then on and off in 2014, and on and off in 2015, up until I started getting the success that I wanted. So that's to your question about the consulting. Now, the other question was?
How that helped you as experience with your public speaking career?
Well, here's what's funny. I think you are born with certain talents, and these talents are innate in you and God-given for a reason. So although I have ventured into the coaching, and by the way, I got certified by all the pretty much coaching schools that are worth it in the world. I got recently selected by Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, who's world's #1 executive coach, as one of the top 100 coaches in the world that he will be mentoring. So I'm standing as one of 100 out of 12,000 applications in that field. I still got really high in it. And I ventured into all of this. However, it seemed that I have a talent for speaking. I spoke my first words when I was 9 months old. I was having full conversations when I was 1 year old. And then I was also in a media business before. So I used to pitch a lot. I used to communicate. And I tracked back and I started realizing that the most enjoyable part for me in my agency work was coming up with ideas and going to pitch them. So at a certain time, I would deliver 20 pitches a week. Like about 5 a day, 4 to 5 a day. And that I was very good at it, and I was natural at it. And this is why my success rate was very high. Back then I was rating anywhere between 60 to 80, 90% success rate, which is almost unheard of in the industry. Funny enough, I'll tell you, on the entrepreneurial journey, it became 95% failure rate. But yeah, so that business helped me a lot, because at the end of the day, I've invested a lot of years into learning branding. I've invested a lot of years into learning PR. I've invested a lot of years into learning communications. So the minute I decided to launch myself, I was aware in my head of how to position myself in the right way. And that helped me move a lot faster in the branding. The minute I got on camera, I knew how to handle camera. I knew how to handle interviews. I knew how to structure messages. A lot of the coaches out there might be better coaches than me. However, my ability
they don't know
think,
how to deliver the message.
and because of my delivery, my coaching engagements became a lot stronger. My presence on stage became a lot better. So all of the assets that I have served me. And this was also a learning for me, is that being passionate is about being resourceful. Use what you have to get what you want. You know, being an entrepreneur is the same. If you want to be an entrepreneur, or what I call a passionpreneur, you have to be resourceful. You have to look at, where am I delivering well? Where am I good at? Because this is where you make money. This is where you grow. You don't grow because you feel like doing something.
Did you come up with the word passionpreneur?
Yeah, I can't even remember how it happened, because I remember at the beginning I was doing workshops that were mainly around finding calling, finding purpose. Did not go well. I started saying passion, and things picked up. Next thing I know is I started doing all these talks, and I got known for delivering passion talks. And somebody, a friend of a friend of a friend, on a Saturday evening in Dubai introduces me at this guy who's doing passion work. And a guy goes, "Oh God, man, I got to go to work tomorrow. I need some of your passion." And I'm like, Sunday, first day of the week in Dubai, Passion Sunday is the best way to end the week and start another. Now, at the back of that, I started interviewing all these speakers, and I interviewed Professor Tony Buzan, the inventor of mind mapping. And we go to an event after that, and I left the room, and somebody said passion. He goes, "Oh, passion, I know who you have to talk to. Where is he? What's his name? I can't remember his name. The passion guy. And I got called the passion guy back then. And I started getting known a bit as the passion guy. However, I didn't call myself the passion guy. And you don't walk up to people and say, "Hi, I'm the passion guy."
So then you said, this is the brand that you should push for.
However, this is the thing, is what happened is I started coaching some people, and I was getting calls from people that wanted to be entrepreneurs. And my question is, why? What do you want? And, I want to be rich. And I'm like, actually, I don't feel excited to help you. I'm sorry. And I started realizing that there are a lot of entrepreneurs out there. And I can't deny that they have entrepreneurial spirit. But that's not the kind of an entrepreneur I want to be supporting. What I'm looking for is people who have passion and purpose, that they want to turn their passion and purpose into a business that helps the world and makes them rich along the way. So being rich is not the ultimate goal. Being rich is the byproduct of you serving the world. And I'm like, okay, how can I differentiate people that have the passion, that are entrepreneurs? And I'm like, well, they're passionpreneurs. This is how the term came up. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm starting, I'm the first passionpreneur on this list.
How do you define passion?
Beautiful, man. This answer took me about 6 months of research, because the dictionary definition of passion, the typical dictionary definition is to any compelling feeling. And I'm like, how can I go out and teach any compelling feeling? That's not teachable. That's really not good. And I started by saying, okay, passion is doing what you love. Okay. And I'm like, okay, that's good. And then I was interviewing Brian Tracy on my show, and he goes, you will never be passionate about something that you're not good at. I'm like, that's true. So now it became, passion is doing what you love, what you are good at. And I'm like, I'm continuing with that. You have to love it, and you have to be, it's not enough to be good at, to love singing if you sound like a goat, because it's not going to work. So you have to be good at singing. And then I'm interviewing Fons Trompenaars. He's one of the most influential management thinkers alive today. And he tells me, watch out for the wrong kind of passion that could hurt the world. I'm like, what do you mean? There is no wrong kind of passion. He goes, really? Think of Hitler. I'm like, oh, yeah. Hitler was passionate about what he's doing. He loved it, and he was good at it. But it was not good for the world. So then the definition became doing what you love, what you're good at, and is of value and service to the world. And even if you think about it from a business perspective, when it's of value to the world, it means there's demand, and when there's demand, you make money. Yeah? And I stuck with that definition for a while. I was getting across people that were ticking all these 3 boxes, but were not succeeding. They were changing jobs, they were changing projects, they were jumping to the next shiny object. You know, Dubai properties, everybody goes properties. Restaurants, everybody goes restaurants. And I realized that there's one missing element, which is the consistency. And now the final definition that I've actually written in my book is passion is consistently doing what you love, what you are good at, and is of value and needed in the world. And that's passion.
How about like in business? Even I experienced that. Like sometimes you are passionate about something, but it doesn't work. And you have something else that you're not so passionate about it, but it works. That's why now the new gurus, they always say only do what you're passionate about. I say do what works, and then go find out what try to survive, and then find out what you are passionate about. So what do you think about
that? It's not either or. I mean, you're bringing a very valid point, which I personally, by the way, suffered from for a while. That being said, it's not either or. And here's the thing. If you take the three circles of the things that I mentioned, doing what you love, what you are good at, and what is of value to the world, that's the sweet spot of a passionpreneur. All right? Now, you take out what you love out of the equation, and you do what you're good at and is needed by the world, that's demand and supply. And this is what you're talking about. Now, that is great for building a business. That is great for being an entrepreneur, okay? If you love business for the sake of business, then
you love the game of business. So I love the game of business more than sometimes technically the business itself.
Yes. Yeah. So for you, it's irrelevant. And there's nothing wrong with it. Let me be clear, because in my courses, I teach few things, and I'll explain to you now, but there's nothing wrong with it. If you love the business for the sake of business, but not everybody's there also. Some people like me, I cannot. I mean, I was doing fine. And if I would have continued in that last path, I would have probably been doing even 10 times better today. It's just that I had that inside itch that was not being fulfilled by my situation, because I had other things that I was looking for. So you see, so for example, people get into different ventures for one of three reasons. Either it's work is work, job is a job, project is a project. Either it's fun, or either it's a mission. And when you know where you sit on those, so people in general who do business for business, to them is just work or work and fun. But at the end of the day, work is work. You know, numbers are numbers, who cares? And, they're happy with their life, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. This is who they are. They're living true to their way of living life. People who like fun more in their work are typically people who work in hospitality. They want to make a living, but they want their day-to-day to be fun. They want to sit surrounded by nice stuff. They want to have fun along the way. They would die in a banking business, for example. And then you have the third layer, which is a mission and a calling. These are people who work in war zones. These are people who work in military. These are people who work in things that have a lot less, they find it fun, but it has a lot less on the fun, a lot less on the money, and a lot more on the mission and the service factor. So when you know where you sit in these systems, and then you look at the doing what you love, what you're good at, and is of value to the world, you'll be able to define. So if you are talking to me about a passion business, you have to take all three. If you're talking to me about a business, of course, there is no other way to succeed in business except the concept of what you're good at and what is needed by others. If you're supplying something that nobody wants to buy, then you're not going to succeed. And that also dependent on the person themselves. So let's say in your situation, you say, okay, I've got 2-3 businesses. They're keeping me financially independent. I can afford to do it. And now I can explore my passion business as a hobby, which slowly converts into business. That's one way of doing it. Other people, I decided to buy a one-way ticket. I'm an extremist. So I said, listen, one-way ticket. And when I came back, I said, I'm betting my life on passion. Now you think when I started, I told you, 2014, 2015, nobody wanted passion. It's only this year, now I'm 2017, that people are like, oh my God, this guy's talking about passion, we want passion. But there was 2013, 2014, 2015. 2015, December, I was sleeping on the floor at my friend's place because I didn't have money to pay rent. For somebody who's in his late 30s.
So you created the market from scratch, yeah.
Somebody who's in his late 30s, after being in the success that I was in, being in 16 years in a country which is, they call it the gold town, is not good from the outside. However, I was playing long term. So I was no longer looking at the short term sacrifices I'm making. I knew I'm planting seeds. And the long-term journey of passion is a farming business, is not a hunting business. The entrepreneurial business on a short term is a hunting
It's like
business.
networking.
Yeah, it's a farming business. You got to farm, you got to farm, you got to farm, and it's hard work day in, day out. So, but however, look at it now. Slowly, the tree of all what I farmed is starting to come up. Give it a few years from, but then I'm able to also take a step back. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying there are multiple ways. For me, the incident that I had in India always reminds me, if I said, let me give it 5 years of building a business, and once I'm financially independent, I'll turn to my passion, the only answer in my head is, can you guarantee you're going to live the 5 years? Because I've had an incident before, and I was like, well, I actually can't guarantee it anymore. So no, I don't want to wait. I'm impatient. I want to start it now because I might be dead tomorrow. But that's my journey. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What you're saying is very correct for somebody who wants to start a business, and maybe you can do both. Everybody's got a different journey, and this is a lot of the stuff that I teach in my Passion Journey course.
We spoke about fulfillment versus happiness. How about passion versus fulfillment?
Great question. The thing is, fulfillment can only come when you're pursuing passion based on what I've defined for you as passion. So you see, people use the word passion. I don't subscribe to their definition of passion, because their definition of passion is, I'm passionate about this business, but if it doesn't make me money, I'm not passionate about it. Then let me correct you. You're passionate about money. You're not passionate. You see, and if that's your passion, then fine, because that's going to give you fulfillment. That's going to give you fulfillment. But the reality is, rarely ever do you find somebody passionate about the money itself. The paper has no value. It's actually, you're passionate about the game of business. And when you're passionate about the game of business, that gives you fulfillment. Remember, fulfillment is fulfilling, or filling full that which you perceive as empty. So if in your case, your purpose in life is to create businesses, remember, what is the ultimate purpose of a business?
To add value.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Everybody tells me make money. I'm like, no, wrong. The ultimate purpose of a business is to add value.
Because the value will make the exchange for money.
Thank you very much. And in that context, if the ultimate purpose is to add value, then you are passionate about adding value, and you will get fulfillment. Because if you're employing people, you are providing for these families. That is purpose. If you're serving people, if you're serving food, you're feeding people. If you're serving anything, content, then you're serving people. What you're doing here on screen is serving people. What I'm doing on stage is serving people. So all of this brings you fulfillment. So passion is the only way to fulfillment.
How about fulfillment versus success?
Oh, beautiful. You know my book that I co-authored with Brian Tracy is called Masters of Success. Okay. And we had an interesting discussion about it, because my angle on mastering success is only by mastering passion. If you master your passion, you master success. Because if I tell you passion is consistently, you're never going to fail. Doing what you love, you can never fail, because the least you'll get is being happy. What you're good at and is of value to the others, that's market demand. That for me is success, because you're happy serving the people and making money. Boom. That's my point of view. Brian goes, yes, the only way you can do it is by mastering public speaking. And then we went out and reached out to 20 other speakers and authors who each of them had an angle. So you might have said, no, the only way to success is to have multiple businesses that make you financially free so you can go do your passion on the side as a hobby. Then somebody else said, no, if you master property investment, you have passive income and you can do so on. So the reality is, you first have to define success
for
to you.
For yourself.
For you, what does success mean to you?
Different for each person. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I answer this in the Passion Journey course with 3 things. You have to know one of 3. Do you want success as fame? Do you want success as money? Do you want success as power? And these, I call them games, because you will only succeed in a game that you're good at. So people who are in the game of money and define success via money will focus on building things that bring them money. Now, when they have enough money, they will get power and fame. The other one is people who want to succeed in power. When they have enough power, they make a lot of money, and they make a lot of fame. And the example
so they are interconnected, even if they don't feel it. Later on, it's going to...
On top they are. Yeah. And then the third one is fame. People who are successful in their fame get paid highly for what they love doing. A lot of artists, a lot of people, they get fame, and through fame, they get money and power. So they're all interconnected. However, you got to know what game are you interested in and what defines success to you.
How to stay inspired in life? Just through passion?
Beautiful, man. There are multiple things about motivation, and that's a very big topic about how to stay motivated. I've interviewed, actually, just before this call, I was talking to a person that I've interviewed who's a friend also. She's a 2-time Olympian. And on one of the games that she was going, I think she got pregnant before it while she was training, and she became pregnant and she's training for Olympics. And that's, that literally knocks her out. And then another time she broke up with her husband, who was her coach. And I asked her that question, and her answer is, you got to tap into your bigger reason, which is, again, for me, is the why. And when it gets way too tough for you to even look at the bigger reason, like in my case, my reason is very clear. I have a target of inspiring 7.7 million people by 21st December 2020, 8 p.m. Dubai time. I'm very clear. I'm on track. I'm doing what I'm doing. However,
but how do you differentiate that from a purpose or a path and just a goal?
Well,
maybe when you achieve this goal, then you will look for another bigger goal.
The purpose.
So now maybe you're delusioning yourself, saying that this goal is my mission and drive, but it's just a goal.
It is a goal, and I never said it's my ultimate mission. Remember, what you do is you got to take your ultimate purpose. The thing is, you got to be able to balance the metaphysical with ground stuff. Because if we stay in the metaphysical and I talk about big purpose and about big passion, I'm not going to be able to get it to the ground. If my aim is to be an inspiration to the world, that's my ultimate purpose in life. I'm an inspiration. That's literally, I know I was meant to be an inspiring voice, particularly. If you want to know in what I call a passion statement, I'm the world's most popular inspiration through passion speaker, coach, author, whatever. I'm not worried about the definition, but I know my voice, my words inspire the world. And that's great, but that's sitting up in a metaphysical. Now, how can I bring that to the ground, to something that people are willing to pay for and willing to consume? Because you can't walk into somebody. I can walk into a company. When GE calls me to come and run a passion workshop there, I can walk in and say, I'm here to inspire you. Okay, how do I do that? So you have to break it down into measurable targets. If you don't put a measurable target, if you don't measure it, in business, if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. You can't run a business without a target. You open a business, you don't have a target, you're going to fail. So I need to break down targets. And you know what? I hit the 7 million. Next thing is 7 billion. But without that number, I have nothing to wake me up in the morning with a specific measurable, because then your energy would fluctuate. One day I'm feeling, I'm tired. Well, if I don't know that I can jog an hour and I measure an hour and I feel tired, then that's my feeling. But if I know I can jog an hour and I'm saying I'm feeling tired halfway through, I'm like, no, I'm being lazy. You get my point? And this is the mental game about staying motivated. Because first, you got to make sure that the big picture is there. You put a measurable target to work towards. However, sometimes you're going to feel so challenged with your situation. And there are two things to do in this case. One is work with your mind to anticipate a positive outcome. Because the reality is, if you're anticipating a negative outcome, you're going to be demotivated. If you think, what's the point? Why am I doing what I'm doing? I'm going to wake up in the morning. I'm a failure anyway. I've tried for 10 days now. It's not working. Boom, you knocked yourself out. So what I do is an exercise of saying, okay, what is the goal and what is the positive outcome of me achieving it? And I'm like, oh, I'll inspire people. Oh, the world will be a better place. Oh, well, I'll make money, because if I inspire 7 million people, these are 7 million clients for me also. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm serving the world. I'd like them to serve me too. So 7 million people means 7 million subscribers, means 7 million users, means I'm making that much money from them. Oh, well, if I've got that money, I can buy something for my parents. I can get my parents a better lifestyle. I can, I want to get married. I can have a better wedding. So you see, you start thinking of the positive outcomes of it. And sometimes none of this seems possible. Because in 2011, I was on crutches because of a back injury. And I was during a workshop with Dr. John DeMartini. And he got us to do some exercise about what do we want out of life. And I wrote a document back then. And I said, I am traveling the world and living experiences and adventures that are inspiring people to go beyond their perceived limits. 2011, my business had collapsed. You remember, huh? I've shut it down. I've lost all my money in properties and investment. It was the crisis of Dubai. I had no light at the end of the tunnel. I tried to go back to Syria. 2012, the war had started in Syria, 2011, 2012. I had closed doors all around me. But I believed deep inside me that that was even possible. Forget of how. I just knew that this was a calling for me. And then all I did is I kept on working at it from then, and things turned around from 2011 to where I am today. And this came to me in an answer when I talked to people who climbed Everest. I have several friends who climbed Everest. One of them was a refugee, climbed 7 summits and the North and South Pole. And when I asked all of them, how did you do it? You know what was the one common answer? 1 step at a time. And I'm like, no, wait. I mean, there must be other mental. He goes, listen, Moustafa, when you're up at that high and you've been exhausted for so long, you cannot think even beyond 1 foot. All you got to do is, let me lift this foot, put it down. Let me lift this foot, put it down. And you just keep doing that. So you got to stay day in, day out, day in, day out. However, the one thing that will help you lift that foot is when you find a compelling reason inside of you, which is, you know what, I'm not in the mood today, but I can lift my foot, 1 foot, because I know I'm going to help somebody else. And then I lift another foot because I remember that person that told me you have changed my life. And then I lift another foot because I know once I finish this deal, I'm going to be able to buy something for my mom. And then you lift a foot, and that's all you got to do. You find little, small, bite-sized stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What's your recipe for focus?
Ooh. Focus is simple. 1.
One thing.
1, not 2, 1. And that's the biggest struggle I get with a lot of the clients that come to me for coaching. Because the first thing I do is, can you list all the projects you're working on? And they like this, that, and I can do this, and I can do that. I'm like, okay, which ones you're going to kill? And they're like, huh? No, I'm an entrepreneur. I do this and I do that. I'm like, no. You're going to do 1. And funny enough, a lot of them resist me for about 6 months and only to come back and realize they can only work on 1 thing. Now, that does not mean you can have multiple things later. But if you know it, as an entrepreneur, you're going to face more failure than success at the beginning. What is the probability of you succeeding when you've opened multiple businesses, hoping all of them will get lucky? And the reality, none of them will get lucky, and suddenly you burn yourself out and you become self-demotivated because you're feeling like a failure. 1 thing. And you keep working at it, you keep working at it, you keep working at it till you hit success. Once you hit success, you get the second thing. And the best example I can give you is airports. Look at the biggest airport in the world. I mean, look at Dubai, okay, one of the biggest, largest airports in the world. With all its might, how many airplanes take off the runway? 1 at a time. They line up behind each other. But one airplane goes up, and another, you can't take many planes out. With all the might and all the money and all the technology, 1 plane at a time. And if you want to succeed in life and you want to be focused, you do 1 thing at a time. You tell me 2, my question is, what's your capacity? 100%. 2 things means 50%. That's called 50% focus. You want 100% focus? You do 1 thing.
So how do you approach your to-do list every day? Like you do 1 thing and then you jump to another, or how do you plan that? This show is about efficiency.
Oh, beautiful. Well, we got into the efficiency, and I think now I'm contextualizing it, because you see, when you're serving that bigger purpose, you quickly can determine on your day, does this fit my big picture or not? If I know what my passion is, so for me it's very simple. My passion is to speak. My passion is to speak about passion. My passion is to go on adventures and anything that has to do with wellness. So I can quickly determine, does it directly relate to these things? If yes, I'll say yes to it. If it's maybe, I'll say maybe and I'll think about it and get back to you. And if it's a no, I can quickly tell you no. I don't even have to think about it. I can tell you with all due honesty, I don't see how it serves me or how I can serve you in the other way. So there's no point of me wasting time. So my decision-making ability now is laser sharp, because I clearly know short, long term, everything that I want and where the big picture is. So when I'm putting my to-dos, the reality is all I got to do is I wake up in the morning and I say, what is the one thing that I need to achieve today to call today a success? Now that can be writing a document, that can be producing a Passion Sundays. So that sits as my anchor, and then everything else follows. So I say, okay,
you do it the first thing in the morning, and then
you have to. Actually, a lot of times I do it the day before. I'm so high energy when I wake up. I need to just go. I don't like. It's hard for me to calm down. I actually have to go for a jog and yoga and meditate before I start my day, just to kind of calm down my energy. And I believe in the methodology of David Allen. I think you interviewed him already.
Yes.
David Allen, getting things done. I mean, it changed my life. It took my productivity 10x, because I quickly kind of use my passion kind of measurement of where does that fit in my life, and then I use his methodology of putting things in buckets. And then when I feel
prioritize,
and then, but don't get me wrong, I get overwhelmed as anybody else. I have sometimes very bad days, and when it gets that difficult, my methodology is one. I say, you know what?
Use a paper and pen, or use a app, or you...
Beautiful. You know what you're tackling now, something that I was just finishing on my Passion Sundays, interviewing Alan Pease, who's the grandfather of body language. And I asked him about writing versus, because we do a lot of writing in the Passion Journey course. And he says when you type, you use fewer brain connections. You probably use about hundreds. When you write, when you use your hand, you use about up to 2,000 neuron connections. So I do writing. I like to scribble. So I use OmniFocus on my Mac for my organizing stuff, for the general planning. However, for the day-to-day, I actually like to write it, and then I enjoy like scratching it. I'm like, I did it. It like gives me joy to scribble on it, like feel I've killed it by the end of the task. And if I'm doing anything that is big, long-term thinking, I like to do it in writing, because it was that statement that I wrote once that came true. And I've seen it that whenever I type, I don't get the same effect on long-term stuff. However, it's not efficient also to write all the time. So what I do is I use the computer to organize stuff, because it's easier to change when you're typing. Once I'm very clear on it, I write it so I don't have to scribble a lot. So it becomes a lot neater writing. I have very bad handwriting, that's why.
What's the top 3 apps that you use?
Well, the top thing for me, as I said, is OmniFocus. I mean, that using it with the methodology of David Allen. That's one thing I use. Definitely my calendar. So I use the calendar because the David Allen one gives you the buckets, but then I need to manage my day, and I book appointments with myself. So let's say I need to finish a presentation. I actually put 30 minutes on my calendar where even my PA knows not to disturb me. I'm blocked for that time. If she needs a call, she schedule it later. Because otherwise, I'm on a to-do list, and I never finish the to-do list unless I pin it on a calendar. I would say these are the top 2. And the third one that I use is I use mind mapping. So I use Xmind for now because it's a free version. It allows me to mind map huge charts for projects that I'm working on. I still like to mind map with my hand, but only in initial stages, because if you're going multiple layers and you need to really get big, doing it with the hand is not really practical. And every time you have to change, you have to redo the whole mind map. So I would say the top 3 is visualize the big picture using a mind mapping, break it down into smaller project chunks using OmniFocus or any to-do list, and then pin it on the calendar to specify that, and that's it, you're done.
How your day look like when you wake up in the morning until you sleep?
So I wake up at around, anywhere between 6 to 7 these days. There were times when I was waking up at 5, depending on the time. If it's summer, I wake up a bit earlier. So 6 to 7, I wake up. First thing I do is I go for a jog. So it's like a power hour for me. So I do 20 minutes of jogging, and those 20 minutes, why 20? Because I figured out a non-negotiable number. When it was 40 minutes, if I'm tired, I'm like, I'm not in the mood. And I'm not a big jogger, by the way. I don't like jogging. I hate jogging, actually. But what it gave me is, first thing, I get out and I just sweat it out. I just feel better. Number 2, for me to consume books. I love to consume books, but I hate to sit down and read. I'm so high on energy, and I don't have time to sit down and read because you get interrupted. And I realized the best way for me is to just go for a jog, put the headset, and just keep jogging.
Audiobooks.
Audiobooks. And my average is about a book a week. Last year I finished between 40 to 50 books. So I consume books while I'm jogging. So that's 20 minutes. 20 minutes is like anytime I'm arguing in my head, I'm like, listen, it's going to take you 20 minutes to talk about it. Why don't you just go get it and come back? Go run.
Do you
and come
write notes? You stop while you're jogging to write a note of something interesting, or just listen?
No, if on the iPhone I have the same OmniFocus software, so if I found something revolutionary that I need to take note of, I take it while I'm jogging. I just type it in. I mean, I slow down. So I do 20 minutes of jogging with my headset in, and then I come back. I do about 20 minutes of yoga. I mean, I do 10 minutes of stretching. So that gives me about clean 30 minutes of audiobook. After I come back, I just do some stretches. And I do about 10, 20 minutes of yoga. And then I do about 20 minutes of meditation to just bring all of this down and focus my mind to start with a clear mind. And then shower, do my breakfast, healthy breakfast, and I'm on fire for the day. So that whole journey takes me about 2 hours. So if it's 7, by 9, I'm on the fire, ready to go and ready to conquer the day.
Your top 3 mentors?
Wow. First one, bar none, is Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. I mean, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith has probably shifted my progression by a multiplier factor of 10, if not by 1,000, because he has been so genuine in his offering and in his generosity. He's a no bars hold. He's not about the money. I mean, last book he wrote, I think he got $1.6 million down payment to get it. So it's not that he's not caring about the money, but he's caring about serving the mission. He says, use my material, copy it, share it, spread it to the world. He knows he's going to die and he wants to do that. So, and he's world's #1 executive coach. So when you get somebody who has that experience, coaching 150 out of Fortune 500 CEOs, talking to you, phenomenal learnings. And he took personal ownership of supporting me on my journey. He changed my life with that. Another person that I owe a lot to has been Ron Kaufman. He's world's #1 also authority on customer service. Again, very genuine person, has taken time. Sometimes it's the moments, it's not the time. And Marshall, I got a lot more time. Ron, a lot less time because he's transited Dubai, a lot less time. But anytime he's been around, the 5 or 10 or 15 minutes or 1 hour we have a lunch or a dinner together has been very valuable for me from the insights. And the third person is Brian Tracy. I've been blessed to co-author a book with him, but more importantly, I've learned a lot from him because at his age, he's still persistent. He is systematic. He taught me, I've learned that when I see these people as systematic, they do not randomly jump up. It's not an internet phenomena. You suddenly became big on internet because you told people how to sell on the internet and you're telling them pursue your passion on the internet. No. This guy is solid. You do something, you follow steps, you do it day in, day out, you break it down into smaller chunks, and you follow through, you follow through, you follow through. These probably are the top 3 that I'd say that are mentors that are regularly, their existence in my life has made me the passion guy. And I'd have to say 4, Professor Tony Buzan. Because Professor Tony Buzan, to start with, is the guy that gave me... Mind mapping, yeah. He's the guy that gave me his personal advisors. And a lot of times he's the guy that gave me the passion guy name. So I owe the passion guy to him.
How to become a public speaker?
Oh, beautiful. Well, actually, I'm in the process of launching soon another series called Passionate Speakers, which is tackling that of how to become, because I was being asked so many people, how do I become a public speaker? The way I help people become speakers is by finding their passion first. Because when you find your passion, then I can help you to convey that message. It's the same thing. How do you become an entrepreneur? I don't know. There are lots of people telling you. How to become a passionpreneur? You come to me and I'll help you. If you want to become a passionate speaker, tell me what's your passion first. Why do you want to speak? Do you want to speak because it feels good to be on stage and people are clapping for you? You're not going to survive. You're going to be eaten alive. All it's going to take is one mistake on stage. You know how scary it is when you're on stage and you have 2,000-3,000 eyes. Well, if you're 2,000-3,000 people, 6,000 eyes actually looking at you, and you do a mistake. There's nothing that's going to make you manage that and turn it around to your benefit unless you're truly passionate and you're truly serving a bigger, and believe in it and serving a bigger mission. Otherwise, you're going to be eaten alive. Being on stage is such a big thing. It's a responsibility. People are excited about being on stage because I want to be on stage. I want to know what mission do you want to serve. So if you want to be a successful speaker, be passionate about your topic, speak from the heart. And I promise you, you don't even need, you want to sharpen your skills. But that alone is 50% of the journey.
What's the number one marketing strategy that helped you get more speaking gigs?
Focus, one. I'm known for passion. One word. I know it well, and I know it better than anybody in this world. I've dedicated, you talk about 10,000 hours, I think I've crossed that a long time ago. I've dedicated so much time, energy, and effort to one topic, which is passion. And when you get so good at one thing, sooner or later, everybody's going to find you, because then anybody looking for passion is going to look for passion, and you're going to be known as the guy who knows the passion better than anybody else. So what's happening is that there's an opportunity cost there, because what happens is I started losing also a lot of gigs, because there's a Me Too gig, and they're like, no, you're talking about passion, we want something else. So on a short term, you will lose a little bit, but on the long term, you can never lose unless you're focused on one thing. And when you get known for it, you brand yourself as that. I mean, naturally, I was lucky. Somebody else came in and called me the passion guy. But if I hadn't been focused on it, I wouldn't have been called the passion guy. I would have been called a coach or a speaker or another coach or another speaker.
You're part of the Middle East Professional Speakers Association. What's this association doing?
I'm actually a founding board member. We're one of the people that put it together. What it is, it's an association for speakers. And why we say professional speakers, because everybody is a speaker. Anybody who's speaking is a speaker. Anybody in a meeting room is a speaker. But people who want to speak for profession, who are professional, and that requires a different level of dedication. So you are either a professional speaker or an aspiring professional speaker that wants to build themselves in the speaking career. So it's an industry association that will help them network with like-minded people, that will help them learn from people who are on a journey of success, and that will help them also get professional development. So there will be courses, there will be trainings, and so on.
Share with us some of the softwares or tools that you use that makes you more efficient.
Well, I mean, aside from what I just shared with you, which is OmniFocus and the X-Mind and the calendar, whether it's Outlook or something else, I don't think it's pretty much the software, to be honest with you, as much as what I call the mindware. So, because you see, you can use any tool to apply GTD. If you apply GTD, your efficiency increases. If I give you software, what I realize is I can give you any software. If you're not thinking in the right way to use the software, you're going to go nowhere. I have a friend who's very successful in the events industry. Actually, back in the days when I was somewhere, he was pretty much 10x my success in the events industry. And he always used to tell me GTD, and I never what he spoke of. But guess what? He doesn't use any of the softwares that I use. He actually just uses Evernote. But he just uses the framework of thinking. So my recommendation, more than the software, would be the mindware, is how you're thinking and how you're structuring your thinking. And if there's one thing I would swear by, is David Allen getting things done. I've interviewed him on the show, and since then I've started learning his methodologies. It drastically shifted my life. And then what I would say is anything that is cloud. Because once you move to the cloud, the world is yours. Yeah. Now, there's a disadvantage there, because the world is yours, and that's too big to handle. So you have to be very efficient and very focused and very passionate on what you're doing to say, okay, does this serve my passion? Otherwise, you will drown in tools. There is more tools than you can imagine. And you know what's funny? Every time you find a tool, there's another tool that's better than it. And then there's another that's cheaper. And then there's another that's this. And I've tried project management tools, and I've tried these tools, and I've learned to simplify. If you tell me to live by, I'd make it 4. I would add to it Outlook. So aside from calendar, because I don't like the Outlook calendar now, just simply because I use Mac, so I use the iCalendar. But if you'd use 3 softwares, you use the mind mapping software, you use an organizing software like an OmniFocus or anything that helps you do GTD, and you use Outlook. These are the 3, more than enough. Don't complicate life. Add mindware to it, and how you think and how you use these tools is more than efficient.
What are your other hobbies?
Wow, I'm very, 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 very passionate about anything extreme sports. So I do skydiving, I do paragliding, I do motor racing, I have a Harley bike, I like to do scuba diving, I've done shark diving, I've done adventure racing, I'm recently getting into obstacle racing, just run a Spartan race, I'm running a few other obstacle races now. Anything that gets close to getting me killed wakes me up to realize that, okay, today is another day and you go make the best out of it. That gives me an adrenaline rush. I'm very passionate about nature and animals. I flew especially to South Africa to walk with lions. I actually went like on a walk with real lions, no cage, no nothing. I love anything animals. I love anything nature. Just throw me out in the nature. I'm a big tree hugger. I love trees. I sit and talk to trees. I feel the energy from the trees. And I love anything that's wellness. Anything that helps me improve my health and well-being.
What's the best advice that you have ever received?
That's a good question. Best advice that I have ever received. Well, for now, the first thing that ticks in my mind is it's a business advice. I wouldn't say it's a personal advice, but I will give an advice that I believe would be the best advice I give to people. But that was Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, and one of the things when I was asking him on support, he says, build a brand. He says, build a brand.
What would you advise your younger self if you have the chance to go back to the past?
Yeah, well, this was, thank you actually, because this would be the advice that I would have told you I'd be giving myself and I'd give everybody, is go find your passion, dedicate the rest of your life towards living it, and live a life worth dying for.
Your top 3 books?
My number 1 book, bar none, is Think and Grow Rich. I've actually done a specific Passion Sundays episode just reviewing that, because I haven't done many book reviews, and that was the only one that I've done actually. And that book, if you tell me I hate reading, I'll never read a book in my life, you go study Think and Grow Rich, because that book was written before anybody else. And how I got to it was funny, because I started researching the big speakers, okay? And I said, okay, I'm not interested in what they're telling me. I'm interested in who taught them what they know. And I started researching, and I said, okay, I want to know the teacher of the teacher of the teacher, and all of them boiled down to Napoleon Hill. And it was such a genuinely written book. And if you know the story of the book, he basically interviewed, I think, 400 or 500 of the most successful people back then. It took him about 20 years to distill the knowledge. That book is worth studying, not just reading. The second book which I recently read would be, and I think is very valuable for people, is Think Big. I can't remember the name of the person. Think Big. I mean, that's definitely very nicely distilled book that helps people get out of that mental trap that they're in about what they can and cannot do. That would be the second book. And the third book would be Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. Beautiful book, because that is beautiful for successful people, because their own success is their own trap, and their way of thinking. And the beauty is so genuine when he tells you the stories of the people he's working with. You see how your own thinking is what's trapping you.
Thank you so much, Moustafa. Last question: how people can contact you?
Yeah, so thank you very much, Ahmed, for this. I've made it as simple as possible. I got Moustafa.com. That's Moustafa.com. If they go there, they can subscribe to Passion Sundays. They'll get it weekly for free. They can also email me at iwantpassion@Moustafa.com. So that's iwantpassion@Moustafa.com. And those emails actually get forwarded to me personally. I always check them. And I will respond to them depending on what queries they've got. And they can like me on all the social media, anything Moustafa Hamwi. But if they go to Moustafa.com, they'll be able to be rerouted from there.
Thank you so much for this deep, fulfilling journey through this interview. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. I really love what you're doing, and I love the whole message that you're delivering, because also, as you said, if we find focus, I'm focusing on passion, you're focusing on efficiency, everybody needs to find another angle to focus on so the world can be served also. So thank you very much, and my message to everybody is live passionately.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Be efficient and stay efficient, and see you soon with another leading expert.